we had number 9, and it was graph the system of polar equations r equals 2 sine theta and r equals 2 sine cosine theta, and solve the system using algebra and trigonometry. And so it makes it into a rose pattern.
You all have a handout. Anybody does it? I don't want anybody talking. I mean it most urgently. This is going to be in your test, for sure. Whatever you don't understand, you better ask them. You will have this in your test, I promise you. So better pay attention and ask questions. Is that clear? And don't say, oh, I'll just come for tutoring. No, we're not tutoring. This is your tutoring. Okay? So pay attention. Otherwise, you guys, it's not fair to that.
So for when you're solving, so like you have to graph just like both of them separately and like work out all the points. And so if it's a rose graph and it's with sine, it always like makes a circle.
And then when it's with cosine, it always makes the classic rose shape. And the equation is always r equals a cosine or sine and theta. And just remember that n is always a positive integer. And then
Okay, that's not true. You need to pay attention. Did I hear you say if it's sine, it's a circle, if it's cosine, it's petals? Okay, you need to start again then, because what makes it a circle? Would you start all over? Because what I heard is, I can have them learn what you just said. Say it again. Because I am listening to you. It has to be correct, otherwise the student's going to learn the wrong thing. Go for it.
For this equation for number 9 for the sine, it makes a circle because for the x's, it's like negative points, but then it's already like repeated, because like once you go around, it's already repeated, like when you have to do an opposite when you're graphing. So it shows like basically when you work it all out, you're going to have like a lot more points than like what's going to show up on the graph, since like you have the negative signs to the second groups.
And then when it comes to the cosine one, it actually does form the rose shape. It actually does form the rose shape.
It's not because it's cosine, because it is what?
I'm saying just this equation, like compared to
What
the
makes
two.
what makes it look like a rose to the circle?
It's because of when you work it all out, the points that you get, they all form on a different spot on the unit circle. So
Okay, we'll come back to that. Questions and answers on that aspect. Okay. Good. Maybe one of the other girls will give it to you. Can anybody in your team answer the question, when is it a circle and when does it have petals? Is there any other group doing a rose? Okay, keep going. Finish up your
So
presentation.
on the back, we actually solved number 9, and so that's just like a graph of both of them together. And then there's a graph for your practice. And so then to solve the equation, you have to use algebra and trigonometry. And so then you just substitute 2 and theta into the equation so they're equal to each other. And then you use the double angle formula. And then you just like rearrange the terms and use quadratic formula and simplify. And then you just like solve for theta using arc sine. And then you find the values of r and substitute the values of theta for like the first equation. And then you get your 3 ordered pairs.
So we're talking about the practice problem, which is on this page. So it's a cosine 2 theta. So since it's negative, it basically graphs backwards. So it starts here and then it goes around and then just basically loops around the circle. So basically at 0 or anything that's basically a whole number multiple of pi. So basically 0 pi and 2 pi. It's basically -1. So you would graph on this side of the graph, and then anything that has a denominator of 6, so pi over 6, it would be -4. So you would go out to 4, and then since negative, you would go backwards. And then anything that has 4 as a denominator would you would just do 0. So the point would just basically be here at the center. And then anything that has a denominator of 3, it would be positive 4. So you would just go out to 4 and just like graph your point there. And then anything with anything that's like pi over anything that's so basically half pi and 3 pi over 2 would be 8. So basically it's like a fraction times pi. So like 3 over 2 and 1/2. So it would just be like these two, and it would be 8. So basically that's the rule for each of the multiples of which of the denominators. So if you just memorize that, then you can graph the cosine.
Okay, well, nifty little hint is for like an equation like -8 cosine 2 theta. The number before the theta is like 2. If it's even, then you double it, and that's how many petals the rose will have. And then the
Very
number,
important point. Very
the number
good.
before cosine.
Got that down? Better repeat that. Everybody heard it?
For a number like -8 cosine 2 theta, the number.
Where are you?
I'm on the last page.
Last page, ladies. Do you see the -8? Which number are you talking about? I'm playing difficult, so they'll get the message yet.
Okay, so -8 cosine 2 theta.
The last side, yes or no? Everybody got it?
Yeah.
Okay, explain what it is.
Okay, so the number 2, the number before the theta, if that number is even, then the number of petals will be twice it. So if it's 2, it'll have 4 petals. If it's 4, it'll have 8 petals.
You see the graph underneath it? I think you all have the same thing I have, yes? Does it make sense because this is 2, that's 4 petals?
And that's the same for the cosine graph number 9.
Good, go to number 9. Where is it? First page.
So it says 2 cosine 2 theta, and the 2 is before the theta.
You see
and
the
it's 4
right-hand
petals.
column, everybody? You see it? Very good. So if the number in front of the theta is even, there will be twice as many petals, yes or no?
Yes.
How do I know where the petals go?
To figure out where the petals go, you just gotta fill in the numbers on the chart, and that's
Without the chart.
under that chart.
Without the chart. Nope. Nobody? That's with the 1 point. Now listen. How many degrees full circle?
360.
You need 4 petals.
That's
How far apart would they be?
90.
Are they 90? Which means if the number is 4, how many petals?
8.
How far apart will the petals be? 45, yes or no? Is that very clear? So now pay attention. What's the difference between sine and cosine? I know I did the sine with you, but look here.
Which way?
One of you, I need one of you to do the cosine because you're not responsible for sine, yes or no? One of you do the cosine 2, 2, 2. This one? Just
What is essentially like this?
What's the difference between cosine?
no, just grab the. Don't worry about that. She's going to graph 2 cosine 2 theta and explain how she can graph that very quickly. And one of you, she's graphing, so the 3 of you, why is she putting the point at 2? What is the 2 she's addressing?
Radius is the one before cosine.
Tell them,
Okay,
listen
so-
up,
The number that comes before the cosine, 2, that'll be the
the length of the petal, is that clear? If the length is 3, then it will be how long each petal? 3. If the number in front of the cosine is 4, the petal will be how long? 4. Better write that down, yes or no? Compare that, flip it over to the last example. Oh, yes. Notice it goes to 8, yes or no? Everybody sees it? Is that very clear? Compare that one with this one. Do you see this one is too long?